The Witcher 3 bloated? That's a heavy question, and one that I thought was fairly obvious to answer. Despite it being my favorite game of the past 10 years, I thought the answer was clearly yes, because there are certain quests that feel perfunctory and unnecessary. Quests like Forefather's Eve. This is a quest that I felt perfectly represented open world bloat. That is, until I watched my gameplay footage and suddenly I'm not so sure. So to answer that question, let's do a Witcher 3 quest analysis on Forefather's Eve. This quest begins outside of Kira Metz's hut, with the Peller waving Geralt down to ask him for help in performing the rites of Forefather's Eve. Geralt does so, protecting him and the peasants from drowners and necrophages, before the Peller receives a terrifying message from his father. Unfortunately for all involved, witch hunters show up, and Geralt must decide whether he'll help the Peller complete the ritual, which involves a whole lot more busy work, or if he's had enough and has better things to do. So Forefather's Eve is neither great nor terrible. It is pretty average. So the goal with this video is to determine if it represents open world bloat in The Witcher 3, or if this quest is an indicator that maybe The Witcher 3 is leaner and meaner than we give it credit for. And what better way to start than at the beginning? And it is quite an awkward start to this quest.
Stop it, you stop!
Well, that's a weird greeting, but what I'm talking about is that the Peller only spawns here when you finish a tower full of mice for Kira Metz, which feels very video gamey compared to the rest of this game, and the Peller's explanation isn't helping much.
Forefather's Eve is nigh. We've rites to conduct. Wandering souls to emerge, damned souls too. We've the circle to protect from these wretches.
So according to the Peller, Forefather's Eve is tonight and he needs protection for it. Has he just been running around Velen all day looking for Geralt and he just happened to come upon him here at Kira Metz's shack? Obviously not, but this is one time where you could see the creator's hand. Forefather's Eve takes place on Fyke Isle, likely to reuse assets, but that location was designed for a tower full of mice, and they wanted the player to truly experience Fyke Isle in that quest. And the only way to ensure that is to trigger the Peller's appearance only once Geralt has finished a tower full of mice. But that makes Forefather's Eve come off as just an afterthought, and since many players were just there, I'm sure the majority of players fast traveled back to Fyke Isle, which contributes to Forefather's Eve feeling like bloat. But there is a hook here. The Peller was an interesting character when he was introduced in Family Matters for a lot of reasons, like his way of speaking, his pet goat or sheep or whatever the hell this is.
Bear, run, you stupid piece of shit.
Ah, I see, his pet stupid piece of shit. But yeah, the Peller was already interesting, and he mentioned Forefather's Eve several times as a core aspect of life in Velen.
When help they need, the Peller they seek.
Help with what?
With the dead that come a-haunting, peace must be made. But they must then wait for Forefather's Eve, standing upon bare ground facing the old gods. 'Tis not unlike Forefather's Eve.
So despite an uneven introduction, the prospect of exploring this mysterious Velen custom is an exciting one, and it makes returning to Fyke Isle worthwhile. And once there, though it's already been explored, Fyke Isle is atmospheric and immersive as ever. Watching these peasants congregating for this unholy ritual is unsettling. So for the first comparison, I would say that the way this quest is set up with its lore and its characters outweighs the clumsy execution. So that's 1-0 in favor of the quest not being bloated. But clumsy execution is not the only issue here. The Peller has this huge spiel implying that we might encounter some unique enemy.
Soon shall we summon the wandering souls. Beyond all help some will be. From these you must protect us. Evil creatures keep at bay. Keep at bay till the ritual's done.
That sounds super foreboding, but we end up with drowners or water hags, which are like superhero movies. We get those all the time. Then after our interest is piqued by this mysterious and angry spirit, we get to fight some witch hunters, which feels like every human fight in this game. And to top it off, we finally get to fight some spirits. But it's not some unique boss enemy like the one that threatened the Peller. No, it's just wraiths, aka the most common spectral enemy in the game. And repetitive combat is a surefire sign of open world bloat. But for a positive spin, maybe this was intentional. The Peller came to Geralt because he needed protection, and he knew the Witcher from a previous quest. But just because Geralt has killed thousands of drowners in The Witcher 3 doesn't mean that the local peasantry of Velen has experience with these creatures. These monsters are things to be feared for the populace of this world, and it makes sense that this is what Geralt would encounter here. And when it comes to the witch hunters, yeah, these are generic human enemies, but these are also outsiders who are self-righteously and under the threat of violence trying to suppress the people of Velen and their spiritual and religious beliefs. So taken in that context, choosing to side against the witch hunters feels very much like Geralt being a Knight Templar of sorts.
Leave now. You're disrupting the ritual.
This is black magic. These folk disturb the dead. We cannot allow it. We will not.
You don't know a thing about their customs.
Take him and disperse the others.
But as much as I rationalize it, I gotta say this is a symptom of open world bloat, because we're already retracing our steps all across Fyke Isle. Why are we also retracing our swords across Drowners? This is not a good hand motion. Whatever, we're tied 1-1. But there is more to gameplay than just combat. The choice to side with the Peller against the witch hunters or allow them to disperse the rabble ends up with two very different gameplay experiences, neither of which is what I'd call exemplary. Not helping the Peller results in this exchange.
Here to fight monsters, not humans.
I like the stance that Geralt takes here, but all that happens is a fade to black and a short apology to the Peller, the end. And I find this very disappointing because it feels like more could have been done here. Like the ritual had already started, and we had this cool moment between this angry spirit and the Peller already.
Who are you?
He knows.
Should I drive him away?
Nay.
I've come for you, patricide.
And it's only after this that the Church of the Eternal Fire shows up. Making the choice to not bear arms against them, I really thought Geralt would have to deal with the repercussions of not allowing the ritual to be completed. That the spirit might come back and get revenge on the Peller, or the Peller might go out and do something even more heinous. Give me something! But instead, the quest just sorta ends, and it's really underwhelming, especially because there's no follow-up to the whole patricide thing. Siding with the Peller is much more substantial, but is also much worse gameplay-wise than having nothing at all. That fight with the Wraiths I mentioned earlier occurs because Geralt and the Peller massacre those witch hunters in the circle, which is a big Forefather's Eve no-no.
The bloodshed, it do any harm?
Tainted lies the circle now. They who thirst for the gore of men shall come.
And then, once the Wraiths are taken care of, and despite the Peller being unwilling to talk about his father, Geralt is determined to drive the ghost away, and he needs to know where the Peller's father is buried. So the Peller directs him to Crookback Bog? No! First we're repeating Fyke Isle, and now it's Crookback Bog? What's next, Los Santos? Like, these locations were wonderful in the quests they were introduced in, but when they are just haphazardly thrown around like confetti in Forefather's Eve, it just becomes me, the player, fast-traveling, fighting another group of generic members of the Witcher 3's Rogues Gallery, pressing my Witcher Sense button once, and using Igni on this corpse. Like, it just feels sloppy and haphazard, like somebody said, hey, we need another quest, but don't spend any money on it, so they just tossed it in here and reused assets and environments and called it a day. And unfortunately, I have nothing to rebut that with, so Forefather's Eve being an indication of open world bloat takes a commanding 2-1 lead. Which brings us to our final category, was Forefather's Eve meaningful? Like, how do I find meaning when each of the flaws I discussed make this quest seem like an afterthought? Well, how about by recognizing that CDPR's writing continues to reveal layers and hidden depths? Like, let's look at the Peller's dismay at Geralt not helping him.
Trusted you, the Peller did. Help you promised.
Killing humans, not part of our deal.
Go, be gone. Peller's done with you.
This moment hits especially hard when you recall how CDPR built a sort of kinship between Geralt and the Peller back in the quest Family Matters.
You don't look like you can get home on your own. I'll walk you.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your help. Let's go.
Yeah, so it's good writing when you can make your protagonist feel like kind of a jerk despite not doing anything wrong per se. But it's in the other version, once Geralt returns from Crookback Bog, that the characterization really shines for the Peller.
You actually kill your father?
'Twas an evil man. The Peller feared him once, but then grew brave. What his father did to his mother, the Peller could not look upon it.
Now, by itself, this is not that great of a motivation. I mean, it's been done to death in all forms of media. What matters here is the context, because back in the quest Family Matters, we had this entire side excursion where Geralt has to go to the Peller to get more information on the Baron's family. And I always wondered, why did we need this part? This part feels very tacked on and just unnecessary. And Forefather's Eve doesn't make him any more important or anything like that, but what it does is it allows us to understand why the Peller would help Anna and Tamara, because this is what the two women were running away from.
Did he abuse his family? Anna came to you. You must have noticed something.
The Peller's old, near blind, but Princess came and licked her hand.
So what?
She's a wise beast. Only comes to those who suffer.
And suddenly it makes so much more sense why the Peller felt compelled to help Anna and Tamara. He shared something horrible in common with them. And with the context that Forefather's Eve gives to the Peller's motivations, I find my appreciation for the Family Matters quest greatly elevated as well. And if Forefather's Eve is actually enhancing one of my favorite quests in the game, can it actually be considered bloated in this case? No, it's completely meaningful, so point in favor for Forefather's Eve. That gives us a final score of 2-2. I should have picked an odd number of categories because we got a tie now. How to fix this? Yeah, I think this quest definitely shows that the game could have cut some of this stuff and probably been better for it. I mean, there's a lot of clunkiness to this quest, so there's that. But I also just find a lot of meaning in like the little story bits and the character bits, and Forefather's Eve has got that, so it ends up feeling worthwhile to me. So I would say this quest falls smack dab in the middle. It indicates nothing. Thanks for watching, and if you're somehow satisfied with that unsatisfying ending to this video, please like and subscribe for some reason.